Most people think they need a lot of money to build wealth, but most of the time that's actually not the real issue at hand. What is actually slowing people down is financial constraint in their lives. Wealth doesn't grow when you optimize everything. It tends to grow better when you identify the one constraint that's holding you back, and then you're able to fix that issue, and then keep doing that to fix all the issues that are holding you back. There are many different things that this could be, income, taxes, and things like that. But the first one I want to talk about is income constraint. This is kind of the first thing that is holding you back. You're not getting a raise, or you don't make a lot of money to begin with. You can budget perfectly and invest consistently, but if your income hasn't grown in years, then you're kind of at a ceiling. If your earnings stop as soon as you stop working, then that's your ceiling. You can't go any higher from there. And some ways to combat this issue is, learning new things, new skills, strategic job moves, owning, some kind of side business that you might want to start, or even negotiating your current role, maybe adding some kind of commission or an equity position in the company you work at. So this ceiling kind of shows that, you can be capped even if you have a job. The second constraint is spending and lifestyle inflation. So once your income rises, your lifestyle will also rise. So once you get a raise, you might upgrade your apartment or upgrade your car or things like that. And this, to most people, doesn't feel irresponsible. You make more money, you should probably have nicer things, right? That feels like a normal thing to do, but it's actually, bottlenecking your money for you. These small upgrades, like I said, the cars or the subscriptions, or you start going out to eat more, quietly, take your raise from you. And the key to this isn't just cutting everything that you do for fun or that you want. It's controlling the ratio of your income that goes to those sort of things. If your income were to grow 10%, maybe you can grow 3% for lifestyle inflation and do something with that extra 10%, but only use 3% of that 10%. For something that you want. And then the rest, invested or whatever you want to do with it. And then you can see that money compound over time. The third constraint or bottleneck is debt. High interest rate debt is a guaranteed negative return. If you have any interest on anything, guaranteed negative return. If you're paying, 18 to 30% on a credit card like most people are, your investments have to outperform that for you to, go in the green. Or even just if they perform 18%, you're just breaking even, basically. And that's super unrealistic in, looking at historic trends of the market over the years. Before you can focus on aggressive investing, it's important to, eliminate expensive, liabilities in your life or things that are, taking your money from you. The fourth constraint I want to talk about is actually knowledge. Some people don't invest because they're irresponsible, or others don't because they need the money. And some people don't just because they don't know how to do it. Your money is sitting in a checking account for years and you're saying you're going to do something with it, but you don't know what to do with it. With your money sitting in a checking account, it might be a knowledge thing. You just don't know what to do with it or where you should be putting it. And for some people, it's uncertainty. They don't like the risk of investing or things like that. But in reality, they're just missing out on growth over the years. And I think the solution for this is not learning everything. It's about, understanding the fundamentals. You don't need to be a Warren Buffett to make some money in the market. Things like compounding, dollar cost averaging, and diversification are really simple. You can probably look up a YouTube video about what they are and, how it might affect your portfolio over time. And it's super easy topic to learn about. And you don't need to be that in depth. Just have a basic understanding on this topic to really, make it work for you. Avoiding decisions because you don't have the knowledge to make them is still a decision that you're making, and it has a cost for doing that. And the last, kind of money bottleneck is your mindset. Investing and that sort of thing, it's all psychological. It's all behavior. If you just do it every month and, don't even look at it, you're probably better off. But, some people don't operate that way, and that's okay. Beliefs can create financial ceilings for people. If you think investing's for rich people or whatever, then you're missing out, because that's just what you believe. And doing that, you'll unconsciously avoid opportunities, to make yourself more money over time, which you're just hurting yourself because of the current mindset that you're in. If you fear volatility in the market, then you'll be over conservative and, average less of a return over time. If you can't negotiate well, then that doesn't help your, income bottleneck we talked about. So you can see the mindset one kind of play into all of these. If you don't care about, being in debt, well, then the debt bottleneck is going to really affect you. That's why I think the mindset one is the most important of all. If you're aware of everything going on with the different constraints that you're under, having the right mindset and knowledge can really help you, sort through the issues that you're currently facing with your money and, improve on all the other ones that I talked about. Another big thing that comes into, these money constraints that we talked about is people try to do them all at once, cut spending, start investing, start a side business to make them more money, right? Everyone tries to do that all at once. I think it's more important you tackle, each one at a time, get your raise, keep your lifestyle inflation low, then move on to, investing, or, get out of debt, then start investing. Like, don't do it all at once, right? And I think that that's like the big important thing with these is that people try to do it all at once and it just doesn't work out because then they get overwhelmed and they just stop. You need to remove what's slowing you down currently first, whether it's a lot of student loan debt or bad credit card debt, or, you just don't have the knowledge to, start investing. You need to tackle those issues first. So as I do on the channel, I try to tie in like what we talked about into my own personal life and talk about how I'm following the things that I'm talking about. So for the spending friction, I've talked about this in a lot of videos, but I live at home, keep my bills super low so that I have a lot of disposable income that I can do whatever I want with. Mostly this goes towards investing. The debt bottleneck, I have no debt other than a small student loan balance, which, I'm currently paying off. So that's really what I'm trying to get out of the way right now. That's step number one for me. And I think the knowledge comes into this a lot, and the mindset. I made a video on my current mindset that I'm, going through my early 20s with. But the knowledge, I'm always learning about, things my investments, what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, how I can improve. And, these constraints, I'm trying to get them all out of the way in order. No order specifically, but I'm doing the student loan balance first, but while investing aggressively, but because I have the disposable income. But yeah, that's just kind of what I'm doing, and that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.